everyone. My name is Edward. I'm the campus pastor over at our Wadsworth campus. And I'm excited today to get to share with you some thoughts about the first piece of the armor of God that Paul gives us here in Ephesians 6 that we've been looking at together as a church, all three campuses. And that first piece is the belt of truth. In Ephesians 6:14, he says, "Stand therefore with the belt of truth buckled around your waist." When I think of a belt, or when I hear the word belt, I immediately think of my belt. Because I really only have one belt that I wear. I have a dress belt that I wear for weddings and funerals and stuff like that. But for every other time, I have one belt that I wear. It's a black-brown reversible belt. So it does everything I need it to do. And I wear it every single time I wear jeans. Just day in, day out, the same belt. And because of that, eventually, after days and days and months and a few years of usage, the belt starts to crack and it starts to get weaker in certain points until eventually I wake up one morning and I go to put it on and it snaps. And this happens, every couple years. The buckling mechanism breaks or the belt itself breaks. And then from that point until the point where I can buy a new belt, which is usually a few hours later at Walmart, I am beltless. And during that time, I realized just how important my belt is. I just take it for granted every day that my jeans are just going to stay where they're supposed to be on my waist. But for those few hours, I realized just how important the belt is to it staying in place. I don't even really notice it until it's gone. Likewise, I think when you think about a suit of armor, well, when you think about a soldier that's fully armed, you probably don't think about the belt. No kid, when they're playing at home, grabs a belt and puts it on and says, "Look, Daddy, I'm a Roman soldier," right? It's not what you think of. You think of the helmet. You think of the shield. You think of the armor. But the belt, like the belt around your pants, is so important. For the Roman soldier to be ready for battle, he had to have that belt fastened tightly around him. Why? Well, that's what kept the armor in place. That's what kept his sword where it needed to be. That's what drew up his tunic to the point where he could run and move and fight in an effective way. And so putting on your belt and fastening that tightly is essential for the soldier. And I think that's why Paul uses the belt first in this picture, because it's so essential, and why he equates the belt to truth. Because truth is so crucial in this war that's waging over our souls. It's so crucial because you could actually summarize the war that's going on as a battle between truth and lies. Yes, you could say it's a battle between good and evil. You could say it's a battle between light forces and dark forces. The Bible talks about spiritual warfare like that, but it also talks about it in terms of truth versus lies. And so truth is so important. It's so important to know the truth. It's so important to embrace the truth. It's so important to stick with the truth, to remember the truth, to stay close to the truth, to tie the truth around you like a belt. And this made me think of a passage out of John 8:44. And in this whole chapter, Jesus is having a heated discussion with the Jewish leaders of his day. And he has this famous phrase in this chapter that I'm sure you've heard of, where he says, you'll know the truth, and the truth will what? Set you free. And the Jewish leaders are really confused by this saying because they're free anyway. Their response to Jesus is, well, we're not slaves. We've never been slaves to anyone. We've always been free. Why do you say we need to be set free? And so Jesus keeps talking and he tries to help them understand, and he tells them that whoever sins becomes a slave to sin. And they need to be set free by the truth. You see, every time we sin, at its root, at its core, that action stems from us believing a lie. We believe a lie about God and who he is. Or we believe a lie about ourselves and what we were made for. Or we believe a lie about the truth and what is good for us and what is right and what is beautiful. And then when we act out that lie, it's sin. And the more sin we walk in, the more lies we walk in, we are enslaved by those lies. And we are not free to live the life we're called to live. We're not free to love God and serve God and live for God like we were made to do. And so he says, whoever sins becomes a slave to sin. So you are slaves, but they're still not getting it. They still don't understand. And so Jesus makes it very, very clear in verse 44 of that chapter, John chapter 8. And he says this to the Jewish leaders. He says, you are of your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he tells a lie, he speaks from his own nature, because he is a liar and the father of lies. And I wanted to highlight this verse because as we're talking about the armor that God gives us, the spiritual armor that God gives us in this battle, we also want to look at the tools and the weapons that the enemy uses in this battle. And there is no weapon that is so natural for our enemy to use as lies. Jesus says right here that he loves to lie, that there is no truth in him, that when he lies, it's like he's speaking his native language. Lies are all he knows. And so it is a major weapon in this war. So take that truth, that Satan is the father of lies. When he speaks lies, it's his natural tongue, and combine it with the truth from earlier in Ephesians, where Paul refers to Satan as the prince of the power of the air. That he has a level of authority and a level of influence to the point where Paul describes him as the prince of the power of the air we breathe. And you combine those two truths together, and you begin to see that we are going to be constantly attacked by lies. Everywhere we go, everywhere we turn, everything we engage with, we're going to be attacked by lies. Some of them are overt, some of them are obvious, some of them you're going to see them coming, you're going to know when they come your way, but many of them are not. Many of them make their way to us through seemingly innocuous messages and entertainment and information. Or they're just assumptions that are baked into the air we breathe, the culture we live in. But we're constantly being inundated with lies. Why? Because our enemy loves lies. Why? Because lies enslave us. Why? Because the more lies we embrace, the more sin we walk in, and we bind ourselves in slavery to them. So what do we do about it? What's one step we can take in this war? Well, we need to do what Paul calls us to do here. We need to cling to the truth. We need to be so focused on, so enamored with, so in love with, so familiar with, just so embrace the truth that we're able to recognize the lies and dismiss them. And so maybe a practical question for you to ask yourself as you watch this video here today would be, where over the course of a normal day, where is my truth intake and where is my lie intake? Where are the lies coming in and when are they coming in? And where is the truth coming in and when is it coming in? Because there's always going to be both. Jesus didn't call us out of this world. He called us into this world. And this world is going to be filled with lies, but we need to recognize where they're coming from. And we need to fill our lives with an intake of truth. So something really practical to think about. Many of us, we wake up in the morning, and within the first few seconds of being awake, we pull out one of these. And we look at the news, or we look at emails, or we look at social media, and baked into those things are going to be lies. They're going to be assumptions. They're going to be beliefs about God, beliefs about what's good, what's right, what's beautiful. And we feed ourselves that with those first few precious seconds of our day that set the tone for the rest of our day. And then you go to the end of your day, and it's the same thing. Many of us spend the last few minutes, the last few seconds of our day looking at one of these. And so very practically, what if we traded looking at social media or looking at news or looking at something that is going to have lies baked into it? What if we traded that with the intake of truth? With an intake of what's actually good, of what's actually beautiful, of what actually is right, God's word. What a difference that would make in our lives. But in general, we just want to be aware of where we're taking in the truth so that way we can cling to it. Whenever, maybe some of you husbands can relate to this, whenever I run out of deodorant, I do what any self-respecting husband would do. I find my wife's deodorant, and I use it without asking her, and I don't tell her about it. Because why? Because I need deodorant, right? And so until I get some, I'm going to use hers. And so I use her deodorant. Sorry, Sarah, about that. But I use hers. The only problem with that is you smell differently. For the rest of the day, you're just smelling something. It just doesn't smell right. And all day you're thinking, what's that smell? And every once in a while you go, oh yeah, of course, it's my wife's deodorant. I smell differently today. And the reason it throws you off is because your nose is so used to smelling the same thing that if something's a little off, you're not even sure what it is, but you can tell something's off. It's the same way with the truth. If we become so enamored with the truth, if we fill up our lives so much with the truth, it's going to give us a sense of smell. So that way when the lies come, maybe we can't recognize exactly where the lie is coming from. Maybe we can't argue with it logically in a perfect way, but we'll know something doesn't smell right. Something doesn't smell right. I know what truth smells like. I know who my God is through his word, and that doesn't smell right. And that's what we need. We need that discernment in this battle. We need to have noses informed by God's truth.